Please follow me. Jack bowed and escorted them out. You got lucky today, punk. However, you won't be this lucky next time. Silas shot Dustin a cold glare before leaving with the two young women. Dad, why do I feel like you've invited wolves into our house? Natasha said meaningfully. These are special circumstances. Let's put the interests of the whole above anything else. Now, we need the power of the invincible guardians, so let's not turn them against us, Hector reminded them. If he doesn't get on my nerves, there won't be a problem. Natasha arched an eyebrow. You, Hector shook his head helplessly. Enough. You two should head out. I still have things to attend to. The two nodded. They quickly said their goodbyes without saying much. After leaving the study, Natasha specially arranged a luxurious guest suite for Dustin, complete with a hot bath. To put it nicely, a private bodyguard would get special perks. Dustin wanted to turn it down at first, but he couldn't stand the pleading and pestering, so he decided to stay for now. His main concern was Natasha's safety. The Dark Lord could attack at any time. Considering his treacherous tricks, he could easily take out several people at once. If he didn't stay by Natasha's side protecting her and something ended up happening to her, he'd regret it for the rest of his life. Dustin practically lived in the Harmons' home for the next few days. In his spare time, he gave martial arts training to Abigail or went flower viewing with Natasha. Occasionally, he'd call Nelson to ask about the results of the investigation. Something to rejoice about was that Nelson had already identified the culprit resident doctor at the hospital. After committing the murders, the resident fled to escape punishment. The Flame Dragon Gang and the Charging Tiger Gang were pursuing him. Capturing the culprit was only a matter of time. Once they caught him, it would be clear who the mastermind was. 3 days later, on New Year's Eve, large, fluffy snowflakes descended from the sky, covering the ground in a layer of white. Houses everywhere were brightly lit to welcome the new year, except the Harmons' home. The Harmon estate was heavily guarded, with outposts everywhere. In order to catch the Dark Lord, Hector had gone all out and invited a large number of martial arts experts to protect their home. Among them were several notable figures. The Harmons' armed forces had strengthened greatly. However, it came with a downside. The entire courtyard was a mix of good and bad people. At that moment, a family meeting was being held in one of the conference rooms. All of the core members of the family had gathered there. As the patriarch, Hector sat at the head of the table, while Trent and Jacob sat on his left and right, respectively. Hector, when tonight draws to a close, the year will end. Didn't you say before that the Dark Lord would come? Why hasn't he appeared yet? Could your information be wrong? Trent was the first to speak. The source of the information shouldn't be fake. All in all, everyone needs to be careful, Hector said seriously. Could the Dark Lord have found out that there's an ambush and decided not to come? Jacob rubbed his chin. The Harmon family had invited so many martial artists to help. Right now, their home could be compared to a lion's den. If the Dark Lord was smart, he wouldn't barge in recklessly. It's nothing out of the ordinary if he doesn't show up. Dylan suddenly spoke up. With me here, would the Dark Lord dare to act out of line? When the others heard him, they all nodded in agreement. The current Dylan was nothing like the old Dylan. Not only was he extremely talented, but he also had the Scarlet Warrior backing him. No matter how strong the Dark Lord was, he'd have to think it over. Considering the Dark Lord's personality, he wouldn't give up easily. We can't let our guards down, Hector warned. "Mph, it's better if the Dark Lord doesn't show up. If he does, I'll lop his head off and release all the pent-up hatred." Dylan spat fiercely. As soon as he said that, one of the Harmon family guards suddenly ran inside in a panic. "Sir, it's bad. A fight broke out outside." "A fight?" Upon hearing that, Hector got to his feet. "Is the Dark Lord here?" "Perfect timing. Everyone, come with me to kill the enemy," Dylan shouted with vigor. "Kill." The Harmon family members all slammed the table in front of them and hopped to their feet, aggression rolling off of them. "You've got it wrong." The Harmon family guard quickly explained, "It's not the Dark Lord, it's the martial artists we invited. They got into a conflict and are now fighting in the ballroom." When everyone heard that, they frowned. They had all thought that the great enemy had descended on them, but it turned out to be an internal fight amongst their own. All their excitement and vigor had been for nothing. What a waste of emotion. Come, let's go take a look. Without another word, Hector led everyone out of the conference room. If internal conflicts were not handled properly, it could very likely end in greater disaster. At present, the Harmon family home's ballroom was filled with martial artists eating and drinking together. It looked like people of all sorts of backgrounds and teachings were there gazing across the room. There were burly, fierce-looking men, stout dwarfs, poison experts with snakes crawling all over their bodies, swordsmen with swift auras, and monks holding golden wands. There were also inhumane-looking humans, unghostly ghosts, and peculiarly dressed fellows. At that moment, Dustin, Natasha, Ruth, Edmund, and Abigail walked in. Their appearance attracted a lot of attention. The three gorgeous women were especially eye-catching. Natasha, are these the external help that Dad invited? Why do they look so weird? Ruth looked around with a strange expression on her face. Besides a handful of regular people, the rest were rather odd. The Dark Lord is an expert in the mystic arts. It would be difficult to fight him with normal martial arts. These strange people are our best options, Natasha explained. I see. Ruth nodded. I don't quite like the way they're looking at us, Abigail suddenly piped up. Ms. Natasha, let's take a seat first, Edmund said with a smile. It was New Year's Eve. The Harmon family had specially thrown a banquet in the ballroom to host all the guests. However, these guests didn't look like nice people. As soon as they sat down, a group of martial artists with impressive waistlines walked over. Oh, I didn't think I'd be able to see such beauty here. The leader was a bearded man naked from the waist up. He was buff, muscular, and had a thick bush of chest hair. When he got close, they could smell the pungent odor coming from his armpits. Hey, beautiful. Seems like we're fated to meet. Are you interested in drinking a few glasses with me? The bearded man regarded the women up and down, not even disguising the desire in his eyes. Not interested, Natasha declined. Gorgeous, in the martial world, having more friends always trumps having more enemies. Don't you think so? The bearded man flashed the knife tucked in his belt. His words and actions carried a hint of threat. You stink, so please keep a distance from me. Don't ruin our meal, Natasha remarked coldly. Do I smell? Why do I not smell it? The bearded man raised both his arms and sniffed his armpits. Instantly, his body odor filled the air. Everyone frowned at the stench. Beautiful, I don't think you know. That's the smell of a true man. That's right. The heavier a man's scent, the stronger he is. You should appreciate it. Ha ha ha,